On one side, you have Khamzat Chimaev, one of the most dominant wrestlers and finishers in MMA today. On the other side, you have Strickland, a pressure striker with incredible durability and one of the best defensive shells in the sport. So stylistically, this fight is basically wrestling dominance versus striking volume. Whose skill set will prevail? Let's talk about Khamzat. Honestly speaking, I think it's fair to say Chimaev had the most dominant start in MMA history, finishing multiple opponents in dominant fashion, fighting back to back. I think there was a time he fought in like he fought 2 weeks in a row, something crazy like that. But then, of course, the career changed. All of a sudden, he started fighting once in a while, once a year. But it's not fair to say all of a sudden. All that happened after he got COVID, and he got a pretty bad case of COVID, if I'm being honest. Obviously, still dealing with issues from that. So I think it's unfair when fans try to paint him as this inactive fighter or inactive champion. It's not his fault, and we can break all that down, but that's for another video. Also, I've seen a lot of people say, man, Khamzat Chimaev is not active, he doesn't like fighting. Well, here you go, the fight is set. It turns out the UFC just wasn't sure what fight they wanted to make, and they were waiting for things to play out. So this was their choice, and I agree with it. What makes Khamzat Chimaev so dangerous is his ability to overwhelm opponents immediately. He has elite wrestling, no doubt. It's obvious whenever you watch his fights. Chimaev's biggest weapon is his wrestling. He shoots explosive takedowns, chains them together, and once he gets on top, he's incredibly difficult to escape. He's ragdolled high-level fighters and controlled elite rounds with ease. Just take a look at the fight with Dricus du Plessis. Literally made Dricus, who was a great champion, you know, his run wasn't that long, but he was a good champion. He made him look like an amateur. He made him look like someone who just walked into a gym for the first time in their life. That's how Khamzat made a champion look. Now, of course, Khamzat didn't really do this in his fight with DDP, but he has great ground and pound. Once Chimaev gets top position, the damage starts immediately. He throws brutal ground strikes and forces opponents to defend constantly. Now, that pressure often leads to submissions or TKO, but a lot of people like to take the fight with Dricus and say, oh, Khamzat is boring. Khamzat is no more entertaining with the grappling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know, every fighter has their off day. Even Sean Strickland has had more off days than entertaining days. But another thing we have to talk about with Khamzat is his aggressive finishing mentality. Khamzat doesn't fight to win rounds. He fights to finish the fight as quickly as possible. That killer instinct makes him extremely dangerous early in fights. And it's easy to break down Khamzat's traits, his skill set and all that stuff, and then look at the fight with Dricus and say, see, but he didn't have the finishing instinct. He didn't do ground and pound. He didn't do all this. Like I said, that was a one-off. I honestly feel like the fight with Dricus is a good example to see grappling dominance, but it's not a great example to see the full skill set of Khamzat Chimaev. But Khamzat Chimaev destroyed legends like Robert Whittaker. He beat Kamaru Usman in a majority decision win, even though I think he lost that fight, but it was very close. One thing I'll say about Sean Strickland is his resume is elite. He has only fought the best of the best in like the last 3 years. Literally only the top of the rankings. One of the most unique strikers in MMA. His style looks simple, but it's extremely effective. Sean Strickland is the perfect example of perfecting the fundamental basics of fighting. Those jabs and teeps, they look really easy, but he's such a master at it that it's just so freaking difficult to deal with. Strikers find it difficult to deal with. Grapplers find it difficult to deal with. It's just impossible to overcome. But yeah, of course, one of the main things about Sean Strickland is his elite defensive shell. Strickland uses a high guard and shoulder roll style defense similar to boxing. He blocks and deflects a huge amount of strikes while staying in punching range. That defense helps him dominate elite strikers. That's how he keeps his distance. That's how he keeps rounding up his volume. Strickland also has the relentless pressure. Strickland constantly walks opponents down. He doesn't throw huge power shots. Instead, he overwhelms opponents with jabs, straight punches, high output, and over 5 rounds, that pace can break fighters mentally. But I'll say this, Khamzat is not a fighter you're gonna break mentally. Strickland has incredible cardio. He can maintain his pace for 5 full rounds, which makes him extremely dangerous in long fights. So the longer the fight goes, if he's standing in there, it's not gonna get easy. But again, that would have been maybe like 3 Khamzat fights ago. Actually, before Khamzat fought Dricus, it would have been easy to say, man, Strickland has better cardio, man. He's gonna destroy Khamzat because the cardio is you just can't match the cardio. But I think Khamzat has pretty much proved that he's got cardio too. I mean, wrestling Dricus for 5 rounds, being dominant, having the total 100% control time, it's not something someone with bad cardio would do. But when we look at Strickland's recent wins, he beat Fluffy Hernandez in his last fight, lost to DDP, which is very funny. Middleweight division, having 1 win and then fighting for the belt. Like I said, I'm not mad at it. This is what fans wanted and this is what fans are getting. Had a win against Cortes-Acosta, very uneventful fight, but he won fair and square. That's cool. Before that, he lost to DDP in their first matchup. And of course, his biggest win, his biggest best performance so far, his fight against Adesanya. So that's pretty much Sean Strickland's run. Like I said, elite resume, right? Good record right here. Everybody here is a good name to have on your fight resume. When you have them as someone you beat, this is a good resume right here. Biggest question in this fight, obviously, can Strickland stop Khamzat Chimaev's takedowns? Chimaev has some of the most explosive entries in the UFC. If he gets Strickland to go to the ground early, things could get very dangerous very quickly. Strickland's takedown defense has improved and is very good and looks very nice. Looks like he can hold his own. But against Khamzat, I don't know. He hasn't faced many wrestlers as powerful as Chimaev, I'll say that. Now, if the fight stays standing, of course, Strickland could have a big advantage. Strickland's style is perfect for frustrating aggressive fighters. His jab, pressure, and defense could make it difficult for Khamzat to land clean for sure. Now, the pace of the fight, another key factor is the cardio. Chimaev tends to start extremely fast, even though he's not really been doing that lately. He's been pacing out his cardio. Strickland, on the other hand, gets stronger as the fights go longer. If Strickland survives the early rounds, the fight could shift dramatically. Now, for the path to victory, Khamzat Chimaev, of course, he's gonna shoot early. That's what he's going to do. He doesn't waste time. Once they dap up and shake, if they do that, he's going for the takedowns right away. Same way he did against Kevin Holland. That was a crazy scramble. So he's gonna attempt takedowns immediately and try to maintain top control. He's gonna look for submissions throughout the fight this time. And trust me, with the little backlash that Khamzat got in his last fight, even though he won it, he's going to want a finish. He's going to be looking for a finish, especially someone like Strickland, because he doesn't like Strickland. These guys don't like each other. When was the last time we had a good grudge match? This is a big fight right here. I'm excited. This is actually the most exciting matchup for the year so far for me. So yeah, he's gonna look for submissions, man. Now, when it comes to Sean Strickland, the game plan is very different for him. He's gonna try to defend the takedowns, of course, which he's good at. But again, I don't know how Strickland's takedowns fares against Chimaev. He's of course going to use the jab constantly, keep Chimaev at range, drag the fight into deep waters. If the fight reaches rounds 4 or 5, I think Strickland's cardio could become a major advantage, because it's one thing to be the one controlling the fight like he did with Dricus, right? And you still have cardio at the end of the fight. It's another thing if you're being pressured, you get more tired. So the biggest X factor in this fight, to me, is going to come down to the first round. If Chimaev gets early control, he could dominate. But if Strickland defends the early takedowns and keeps the fight standing, I think that momentum could shift, because Khamzat always lands his takedowns. He's never missed a takedowns. He's always landing it. The reason is because even when he attempts it the first time, it doesn't go well. He stays on that clinch, on that control, and just ends up dragging you to the ground. He's never attempted a takedown that was not successful. So if Strickland somehow manages to defend a takedown, especially early in the fight, I think that will mess with Khamzat's head, man. I think that will mess with Khamzat's head. But yeah, looking at this matchup, Chimaev's wrestling is probably the deciding factor, obviously. Strickland is extremely tough and durable, all respect. Like I said, got my pick wrong against with Strickland versus Hernandez, and I owned up. He did impress me. But Chimaev's grappling pressure is on another level, man. He ain't no freaking fluffy. He's not. I think Khamzat Chimaev wins by submission in like round 2, honestly. But if Strickland survives the early grappling exchanges, the fight could turn into a very competitive striking battle. So yeah, like I said, big fight right here, big grudge match. It's been a while. I think this is the biggest grudge match we've had since Conor versus Khabib. Not biggest fight in terms of the money it will sell, but like grudge match, like where the fighters genuinely do not like each other. I cannot remember the last fight that was like, even Strickland versus Adesanya, it's not like they hated each other, right? It was more one-sided. Strickland talking his shit, you know, Adesanya, it's like whatever. But this one, these guys don't like each other, man. These guys do not like each other. So I'm very excited to get to duke it out finally in the octagon, and we see who the better fighter is. All right, let's run through the rest of the card and break down the stylistic matchups so you know exactly what to watch on fight night. Starting with the co-main event, Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. This is a classic striker versus grappler matchup, but it's a little more layered than that. Van is all about pressure, volume, and clean boxing. He likes to stay in your face, build combinations, and overwhelm you over time. Taira, on the other hand, is one of the slickest submission artists at flyweight right now. His transitions on the ground are fast, and once he gets a dominant position, he rarely wastes it. The big question here is, can Taira consistently get the fight to the mat? Because if he stays standing for long stretches, Van's output and durability could take over. But if Taira finds entries, especially off scrambles, this could flip instantly. Very high level chess match between pace and precision grappling here. Initially I picked Van, but if he's really injured, you know, I don't know how long of a layoff he had for that injury to be totally gone. I think Van needs to be 100% in this fight, and if he's not, then I'm more confident in Taira. But either way, I'm going with Taira on this fight. I think he'll be able to withstand what Van brings on the feet, and he will be able to get it to the ground several times. Next up, we got Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. This one is all about range versus explosiveness. Volkov is a tall, technical kickboxer who thrives at distance. He uses his jab, teep kicks, and straight shots to control the pace. Cortes-Acosta is much more compact, powerful, and aggressive. He wants to close that distance, land big hooks, and make it ugly. The danger for Cortes-Acosta is walking into clean shots on the way in. The danger for Volkov is getting backed up and forced into exchanges where power becomes a deciding factor, although we don't really see Volkov in that position a lot, but Cortes-Acosta comes with a lot of pressure. If Volkov keeps it long, he wins minutes. If Waldo makes it chaotic, things get interesting fast. I'm gonna go with the underdog for Cortes-Acosta here. I think he's not going to let Volkov make it a technical fight. He's gonna keep pressuring him. He will eat some shots, hopefully not get knocked out, but I think he will pressure Volkov, land some takedowns, and get a decision win in this one. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley is a really fun clash. Brady is a pressure grappler with strong top control and a suffocating style. He's not flashy, but he's effective. Once he gets you down, he keeps you there. Buckley is the opposite. Explosive, dynamic, and dangerous on the feet. He throws with bad intentions and has real knockout power. So this fight comes down to entries, man. If Brady can time the takedowns and avoid big counters, he can control this fight. But if Buckley's speed and power make every entry a risk. One mistake and it could be lights out. Initially I picked Sean Brady, but I've been seeing a lot of clips and videos of Buckley really training hard with Kamaru Usman, especially in the grappling. Now I'm not saying that's enough to defend Sean Brady's wrestling. Sean Brady's an amazing wrestler, but I really do think Buckley will be able to defend some takedowns. I don't think he's going to be a slouch on the ground. He will scramble to get back up. On the feet, I don't think these guys are close at all. I think Buckley is a better striker. He's more relentless. He has more pressure and more chaotic. I think he's going to try to make this a chaotic fight. I'm going to go with the underdog on this one again. Joaquin Buckley by a decision. King Green versus Jeremy Stephens is just violence. This is a random ass matchup. First of all, Jeremy Stephens left UFC, went to be a KFC, now he's back at UFC. It's so random. King is a slick defensive boxer with a unique rhythm. He relies on head movement, shoulder rolls, and countering. Stephens, even at this stage, is still a power puncher who's always dangerous early. He doesn't need many openings, just one. Now, Bobby Green should have the technical edge in this fight, but the more chances Stephens has to land something big. This is one of those fights where durability and timing will decide everything. This is one of those fights where durability and timing would decide everything. At the end of the day, I think Green has been facing more elite competition compared to the guys that Jeremy Stephens has recently been facing. So I'm pretty confident I'm pretty confident with making a pick for Bobby Green to have a decision win in this fight. Next fight, we got Ateba Gautier versus Ozzy Diaz. Gautier is still developing but brings athleticism and physicality. I mean, the guy's knockouts are insane. He's a monster. Diaz is more experienced and typically looks to strike with a bit more structure. This feels like a fight where raw tools versus experience is the story. Gautier can improve himself early. He can overwhelm. If Diaz settles in, he can start picking shots and taking control. But I don't think he will be able to handle the power of Gautier. Now, Ateba's last fight didn't end in a knockout. It was a tough fight for him, honestly speaking, but he still got a decision. He got tested and he passed that test, and I think he's going to come back to his knockout streak in this fight. I'm going with Ateba Gautier by round 2 knock. Next fight, we got Joe Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. Now, it's really intriguing right here. Alvarez is long, dangerous, and very submission oriented, especially off his back or in scrambles. Amosov, on the other hand, high level, well-rounded fighter with strong wrestling and control. The key here is positioning. Amosov fights smart and stays on top. He can neutralize Alvarez's offense, but Alvarez is one of those guys where even if he's losing minutes, he's still a threat. Now, Amosov definitely has the more elite competition experience. He's faced better fighters, but at the end of the day, he hasn't been fighting in the UFC. He just came into the UFC, had one good win so far, which was an impressive performance. But Alvarez is just more lethal, man. He has that power. So initially with this one, I went with Alvarez. But man, when you think about the grappling, Amosov is just something else when it comes to that. And I don't think Alvarez is good with the grappling. I don't think he has good defensive grappling. And I just don't see him keeping this fight on the feet throughout. Amosov has more experience in my opinion, although in lesser leagues. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna go with Amosov right here by a decision. I think he's gonna make it a heavy grappling fight. Next fight, we got Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. This is a grappling heavy matchup. Dawson is all about control, pressure, and chaining takedowns together. Rebecki is more explosive, aggressive, and willing to take risks, especially early in the fight. This could turn into a grind, but the difference is the pacing. Dawson wants to drag you deep. Rebecki wants to make it intense right away. Whoever dictates the tempo probably wins, and I think Dawson would do that. I think Dawson is gonna make this a snooze fest. He's just gonna grapple, take him to the ground, have that pressure and have that control, and end up getting a decision. I'm not confident with this one, but I think Dawson gets this done. Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon is a veteran versus grinder type fight. Miller still has dangerous submissions and a ton of experience, especially early in fights. Gordon is more about durability, pace, and wearing opponents down. If Miller finds something early, he can absolutely capitalize. But if Gordon survives that initial danger, his consistency and pressure will take over. I'm gonna go with Jared Gordon here. At the end of the day, his last fight he was literally hit by a car. Like, that's what happens before his last fight, and this man still went into a fight. So I'm not gonna use that and say, oh yeah, he's coming off a loss. Jim Miller is at the end of his career. I'm surprised he's still fighting. You know, the guy's a dog, man, one of the OGs, but he's way past his prime. I don't think he will be able to hand in Jared Gordon's speed and technicality when it comes to mixing it up, and I think he's gonna have a clean decision in this fight. Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio, striker versus wild card. Kopylov is a clean technical striker with solid fundamentals. Tulio is less predictable, more aggressive, and willing to take chances. This usually comes down to discipline. If Kopylov sticks to his game, he should be able to control the fight, but chaos always gives the underdog a path. Now, of course, Tulio is a slight favorite, and I think he wins this fight, man. I don't think he's going to stand there and just let Kopylov have a clean point fighting style. I think he's gonna make it a dirty fight. He's gonna make it a brawl, and he can actually have a KO. But with respect to Kopylov, I'm gonna go with Tulio by decision. Next fight, we got Pat Sabatini versus William Gomis, another grappler versus striker matchup right here. Sabatini wants the fight on the ground immediately. That's where he's at his best. Gomis is longer, more fluid on the feet, and wants space to strike. The entire fight hinges on takedown defense. If Gomis can keep it standing, he has a clear path. If Sabatini gets his hands locked in, it could be a long night, and I do think he will have his hands locked in. I'm comfortable with this one. This is one of my most confident picks on this card. Gomis is good, don't get me wrong, he's good, underrated, but I'm gonna go with Pat Sabatini by a decision in this one. Next fight, we got Baisangur Susurkaev versus Dawson Santos. This feels like a physicality battle right here. Both guys bring aggression, but it's about who can impose their will more effectively. I'm going to expect a lot of exchanges, clinch work, and momentum swings. Not the cleanest fight technically, but definitely one where toughness matters. But I'm going to go with Susurkaev by a round 2 knockout here. I mean, the guy is on amazing momentum, undefeated, and you know, he's 3 years younger than Santos. Santos is underrated as well. I do think he's not someone you can sleep on, and he always tends to pull something out of the bag when you don't expect him to. But Susurkaev is a special fighter in my opinion. He's still young, still has a lot to prove, but I think this guy has a lot of potential to crack that top 10 in the rankings. I'm gonna go with Susurkaev by a round 2 knockout. And finally, we got Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Ocho. Carpenter is typically more well-rounded and composed, while Ocho tends to rely on bursts of offense and scrappy moments. This could come down to consistency versus explosiveness. If Carpenter stays disciplined, he should edge this fight. But if Ocho creates chaos, that opens the door. All right, I'm gonna go with Ocho. I think he's gonna make it a brawl. He's gonna make it a dogfight. He's not gonna let things be easy. But yeah, I'm comfortable going with Ocho in a decision in this one. Overall, this is an amazing card. I cannot wait to watch it. Now, these are not my final picks, okay? I will be posting my final picks before the card, probably on Wednesday, middle of the week. That's when I make my confirmed official picks and betting strategy as well. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. And go ahead and like this video, man. Help out a small channel, all right? You see on there in the comments, there's a place for a hype. It's a new feature on YouTube. Help out a small channel, man. Hype that video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more breakdowns. I'll see you guys on the next one.